All right, yo, here we go. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, episode number 387. Damn. 387. Yeah, the internet's a little fucked up. Couldn't tell you why. Probably because there is evil in the world. Or there's good in the world. I'm not sure. You know, maybe there's a balance of both. But don't fuck with our show. That said, what's up? Danny Cole, my man, what's up? Good to see you. Gregor, what's up in Scotland? Yeah. Is that right, Larry Kelly in Salem, Mass? Kind of appropriate for today's show. Greetings from Salem, Mass. All right, John in London, my man. Good. The gang's all here. Francis Sawyer. All right. Hey, Frankie, what's up? What's going on, Frankie? All right. Enough of the, that's right. You know what? We're gonna. Speaking of rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. I'd like to bring on. Hey, what's up to all the Misfits fans out there? Fangzine. Follow him on Instagram. Great Instagram page. Boise, Idaho. Okay. Boise. The Necros were from Boise, Idaho. if I remember correctly. That said, I'd like to bring on my co-host. You know him, you love him, Joel Ghostin. What's up?
How you doing, man?
Hail Black Sabbath.
Always, always.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, crazy is the word for it. I mean, what a trip the last few days have been. I was talking to a buddy of mine that evening when we got the news, and I'm like, is the sun even going to rise tomorrow? You know, it's very hard to think of a world without Ozzy. You know, it's heavy stuff for sure.
Yeah, what's with this? What is there a background between on the shot here? You and Ozzy?
Yeah, yeah, that was taken. Some people probably remember vintage vinyl down in Fords, New Jersey.
Wow.
So
Going
this
back.
was this is 2001. This is before I did my book on Sabbath and got to know some of the Sabbath guys. This is an in-store appearance, and you'll see I have my sleeves cut off, which I was doing at the time to attempt to be cool. Whether or not I was successful is up for debate. But
Look at the guns on that kid, huh?
and so this was early October when Oz showed up there, and I didn't wear a jacket because I wanted to show, you know, the minimal tattoos I had at the time. And Ozzy,
look how cool I am. I have tattoos.
yeah. But Ozzy was late, so we're all outside freezing our asses off. And eventually Oz turns up. You know, everybody gets in line. At that point, my arms were just like icicles, you know. So I'm waiting in line to do, you know, take the photo, whatever. So you'll see in that picture, he's holding my arm because he really liked my Misfits tattoo. He was checking that out. And then he grabbed my arm. And, you know, Ozzy, if you look at Ozzy head on, like the eyes kind of bulge, you know, and he had this look of just human concern on his face. He's like, Jesus Christ, your arms are fucking freezing, man. And I was about to say, well, it's October, we've been outside, but I was kind of shoveled off at that point. But I remember just like the look of pure concern on his face that my arms were so cold. He couldn't get over that. So that was my one and only time meeting Ozzy was that photo. So
okay,
that's you know, something obviously I'm cherishing now more than ever, because there won't be a second photo op, of course. So
you know, I was thinking about Sabbath, and I was about like what's my favorite shot of them, and I think it's this one.
yeah. Do you know the story?
Are you gonna tell me the Bill Ward's wearing his wife's spandex story? Is that the one?
This photo that ended up on the Sabotage record cover was not supposed to be the photo. They were doing test shots for, you know, getting the positions right and all that. So they just threw on like what was around, and you'll see Ozzy was wearing, you know, a Komodo, I guess that is. And yeah, those are Bill's wife's tights. He just, you know, they had to put something on for the test shots, and then somehow it ended up being the record cover. So, you know, as Bill said, there was definitely sabotage going on with that album cover, because that was not supposed to be the official one, but that's what we ended up with. And that's what he's had to live with since 1970, 74, I guess that album came out. So
that's funny. You know, Steven Messina just sent me a shot. Let's get him on. Let me get rid of this. Let's get Steven on.
What's
up,
man?
What's up?
Hey.
What's up?
Yeah, that shot that you just sent me is a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's a real, and I only just recently saw this for the first time, this shot.
I wonder who took that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I wonder who took this, and I wonder if this is even real.
That's
you know what I mean? In the world we live in now, like, is this even a real photo?
That looks real.
You know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's real.
That looks real. Look, they're so young here. My God.
Yeah.
The mustache is in full effect.
Yeah. Yeah, geezer in the house.
Yeah, there's so many. There's a classic bunch of pictures of them walking through a park and like pointing to a guy sleeping on a bench. You know, they just amazing. I mean, over the years, I'm glad I got to see them reunite in '96, and I got to see them in Ozfest. I got to see them at the Garden without Bill Ward at the end. But
Yeah.
they just.
When was this?
That was that was in 2010 when he wrote his book, and they told everybody in advance, Ozzy will sign your book. Do not do not engage. Just anyone can take a photo, but just move it along. And like he was just kind of signing, look up, he would smile, but don't ask him to look at a camera, nothing like that. Like in fact, JoJo and I went to that, and
he looks young here. What year was this again?
That's 2010.
Really? He looks young here.
That's 15 years ago.
Wow, he looks incredibly young.
He was 61 or something.
Right.
And think about it. I mean, he was your age.
Excuse me?
And you look young. But
excuse me? Listen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, I can't even imagine. Like we all knew there was a time during COVID we were afraid we were going to lose him. But,
This is a picture of me when they did some Black Sabbath signing, but it's a picture of a picture. I don't know. Somebody showed this to me and I took a picture of it.
It looks like you're shaking Tony's hand.
I was.
That's great.
No, we took a picture together. I was
right, but it looks.
I was shaking his hand. Yeah, but
that's a great shot.
But it's just a picture of a picture. Like somebody's like,
"Hey, I see."
Yeah, I just snapped it with somebody. I was at someone's house and they're like, "Hey, I don't know where the fuck this is."
That was right after the reunion in the first time they reunited without Bill, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, that would be with
that is with Bill. That's when they did Psycho Man.
That was in like the 90s when
that was after the reunion with Pantera opened up.
Yeah, because I've shown this picture before. That was let me see. That was the same time we were spending a lot of time together because I think Biohazard was on the Ozfest and we were going.
Oh, right.
That's when I think soon. I don't know how soon after. This looks like it was before, but here's a shot with me and Gloria Butler, Geeze's wife, and Sharon Osbourne.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think might have been 98. Does that make sense? 98.
Or 99. It would have been around that time.
Yeah.
Because they did the first Ozfest in '97 with Mike Borden on drums from Faith No More.
I have a feeling this is. I think they played New Year's Eve in Vegas or something, and we went down to Vegas and hung out and saw them. I think, but
because they did '96 at the Coliseum with Pantera, and that was with Bill. Bill was really heavy.
Yeah.
And
was that the supposed farewell tour from Ozzy when they came up and did a few songs at the end?
No. This is the first actual reunion. In fact, I just sent Drew a picture actually. And that was at the Nassau Coliseum. And this is from the end. This is from the tour they did without Bill at the Garden. Right. This was a great show.
Yep.
Yeah, they really sounded good. They didn't put any kind of like bullshit on Ozzy's voice. That was a really, really good.
Hey, the guy went out with his boots on,
Oh my God. I mean, that show, the timing of that show, it was really incredible. And I like last night I went to see Pantera at the Jones Beach, and the crowd just between almost every song, the crowd was just chanting Ozzy.
Right.
And they actually did Electric Funeral last night, and it was great. But just
I guess that makes sense considering Zakk Wylde.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is in the band.
And
Is in
in fact, they're
Pantera, right?
canceling their next few dates because he's got to go to the funeral.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So this was the last show. I think they canceled 3 or 4 shows afterwards.
Right on.
But really just, I mean, talk about it. And then, like,
Hey, he went out with his boots on, man.
Yeah.
He had a fucking bash 17 days before he passed. It was like a great goodbye. I mean,
yeah.
I think anyone would have chose to go out like that. He got to see all his friends one last time. He got to do it on stage one last time, and he fucking passes 17 fucking days later. You know?
And they
It's like,
donated $190 million to charity.
yeah. So
They said it was bigger than Live Aid.
wow.
Live Aid was 100 million.
Yeah.
This was 190.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Suck on that, Bob Geldof.
Well, I think if you adjust it to today's inflation, I mean, I think 100 million in 19. What was Live Aid? 1986 or something?
Yeah.
85.
No, it was 85. They just had the anniversary.
And Sabbath played that too.
That's right.
That was a great set they played that day. That was great.
Right.
It's a good set.
And they just televised it last like a week or two ago.
Yeah, that's right. Mark Tulch up in Canada says, my grandfather died of Parkinson's. He did not go out this well. That's what I'm talking about is
yeah. And you know what's great? He always regretted not having Bill Ward on that last tour, and he got to do it.
Yeah.
Which
well,
no disrespect to the guy that filled in for him, but to see Bill again, was amazing.
To that point, real quick, the original Sabbath members reunited for Live Aid in 85.
Yep.
They were not getting along at that point.
Right.
And, they reformed earlier this month for the last gig. What's the common thread? Those were charity events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know what I know about those guys without getting too deep in the weeds? That speaks to who they were as Sabbath. It's like, oh, we could raise millions of dollars for children. We're going to reform and not deal with our shit. We're going to go and play our gig.
Yeah.
And, that's how it was with those guys. So
cool.
We were lucky.
All right, Stephen. We will talk to you in a bit, man. Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm off to see Bold and Youth of Today now.
Right on.
We'll be here talking about Satan if you need us. Have a good time at the Youth of Today show. Maybe you can play some kickball, outside the club, but we'll be here talking about Satan, okay? We'll see you later. Just kidding. Just kidding, Ray and Purcell. Love you guys.
I always feel bad about myself when I think of Purcell because I had a real moment of peer pressure with him. Not that he has any recollection of this or even cares, but I was outside of a gig one night smoking a cigarette. I blow smoke right in Purcell's face as he's walking down the street, holding his guitar. I'm like, man, of all the people to blow smoke in front of, fucking Purcell from Youth of Today. I let myself down, I let Purcell down, and more significantly, I let the kids down. So I apologize.
My eyes. All right, enough. Let's bring our guest on. Here we go. Today's guest is an American drummer and composer hailing from the Garden State of New Jersey. He is a founding member, and for nearly 40 years and 13 studio albums, he's been in the drum seat as well as the primary songwriter for the incredibly proficient death metal band Deicide. Here today to talk to us about the upcoming Deicide CD box set, Children of the Underworld, the complete Roadrunner years, please welcome, coming at us from the Sunshine State of Florida, Mr. Steve Asheim. Hey, man.
Hey, Drew. Thanks for having me on. What's up, fellas?
Hey, buddy. What do you say?
Nothing. How's it going up there?
It's good. How's things in Florida?
It's good, man. Hot, but I'm inside, so it's all good.
Yeah, and in Florida and Vegas, you kind of learn to exist from air conditioner to air conditioner, right?
Yeah, buddy. It is 90 something out there right now, 3, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
So when the clouds and the rain rolls in, it cools it off pretty good. They don't get that in Vegas, I don't think, or Phoenix, whatever. They're hurting for rain out there, not so much here. Hell, I got a flood of a river that rolls past the house every time it rains hard.
Yeah.
So you know, it's not that bad.
I don't want to ask about Black Sabbath or Bill Ward yet. Let's try to go along the timeline. So let's bounce the ball back and forth. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
No, you know, not directly musical where my folks played an instrument. I had a couple of sisters. They didn't play anything. So it was just me, you know, I was just interested in music early on, you know, and got interested in instruments early on. You know, like when they start up the band in school, I went out for the drums, but there was like 20 people ahead of me who got in there. So they gave me a trumpet, and, you know, that didn't work out too great. So I gave that back and just kind of pursued it on my own, you know. A couple of lessons here and there, but basically self-taught, you know.
Where were you born?
I was born up in the Bronx, up there in the city.
That's right.
I know how you said from New Jersey, which is true. I lived in New Jersey for a long time.
Right.
But yeah, technically was born in New York City in the Bronx up there.
That's awesome. Who
yeah, right.
Who thunk it? Steve
from
Deicide.
Right? You know, it's
Steve from Deicide, born in the Bronx.
That's right. So I should be fitting right in, but I've been here a while, so I got somewhat, you know, you get a Southern accent.
Yeah.
Creeps in once in a while, but it's all in good fun, you know.
What was the first music that spoke to you that you felt like this is my music? This isn't something, you know, my parents or I'm hearing on the radio. What was the first music that spoke to you?
Well, you know, the radio was on a lot, so there was a lot of contemporary rock on at the time, like the 70s stuff.
Sure.
So I remember Bohemian Rhapsody being on. I remember that song about Revved Up Like a Deuce, Another Runner in the Night being on all the time.
Yeah.
I remember, and early on there, I got into Kiss, obviously. And, you know, just was very open to what was going on the radio. And so there was a lot of good stuff out on the radio in the 70s. So it was easy to get into. And, you know, I had a pretty good retention for it as well. You know, I was able to bring to playing, you know. It was good to come up on.
Growing up in Jersey, and in Freehold specifically, were you pummeled by like the Springsteen shit and the Bon Jovi shit? Was that like, you were right in the middle of it?
Yeah, you know, I remember being very young in school, like almost kindergarten, maybe first grade. And the art teacher, I forget her name exactly, but it was Miss something or other. And she kept going on how she was dating or dated Bruce Springsteen. It's like, we're 7 years old. We do not care about your love life and how you know Bruce Springsteen. But yeah, he was a legend there for sure. I mean, of course, you know, everyone called him the boss. The boss, the boss. That's all you heard about. And Asbury Park is all you heard about.
Sure.
And you know, in the 70s, he had that kind of a modern Bob Dylan thing going on, you know. Yeah, and, of course, you had Clarence Clemens, the big man on the sax. That was fun. And the whole E Street Band thing, you know, yeah, it was cool. And that is, like I said, 70s, you know, it was a legend. And like I said, being from Freehold, it made it even more so. So I remember seeing, over in Colts Neck, see that's Bruce Springsteen's parents' house he bought for them, you know.
The Red Bank Diner. Springsteen goes there once in a while.
The Red Bank Diner, and going into Freehold downtown, there was Federici's Pizza, and I think one of their dads ran that or something.
That's right. Danny Federici, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, eventually, you made. Oh, here's a good one. What was the first live show you saw? What was the first live music you saw?
You know, I remember riding along the boardwalk there in Asbury Park and coming along to the convention center. It was in the afternoon, and it was not the Sex Pistols, but the Clash were playing down there.
Good one.
And I was still a kid, so this is 82, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4 ish.
Yeah.
I don't know, remember exactly. So they were, and I didn't see him or see the show, but I remember hearing him sound check a little bit and the trucks and all that. And while the Clash is here, just kind of hanging around. I was there with one of my sister's boyfriends, hanging out in Asbury Park for whatever reason. Anyway, but as far as the first show, I remember going to see, I think was like, well, the first rock show was Ozzy and Motley Crue at the Brendan Byrne Arena up there. But the first show, I remember there was a Six Flags park up there, a Great Adventure. I remember my folks took me in to go see a 50s revival, and it was like Chubby Checker,
Nice.
Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Supremes, you name it. They were all there. And it was a matinee show in the summer, and it was hot. And I just remember we were pretty close to the stage watching them all. Chubby Checker, Fats Domino. They were sweating their asses off up there. It was so hot. I was like, how are they even alive up there? I'm about to die just sitting out here in the bleachers. And I was like, I just couldn't believe how hot it was. And they were like in tuxedos and shit and dancing and sweating their asses off. I was like, that's unbelievable.
I saw this. I don't know if this was a day or two before you saw them, but I saw Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue at Madison Square Garden. I guess it must have been Brendan Byrne was probably the day before, the day after. But so this was kind of like your first live experience for your own music, so to speak.
Yeah, it was. It was great too. I remember walking into the arena and there was just a huge cloud of smoke hanging over the whole floor area. And the place was just filled with, like-minded metal people. It was amazing. And I was sad with a buddy of mine. We were 15 or 14 or whatever year it was, 13, 83, whatever year it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was 83, 84. Yeah.
And so we had these seats next to the stage up on the side, so we had a side view of the stage. And we sat next to this older couple, both of them gray-haired, and they handed me and my friend a joint. It's like, thanks. This is amazing.
Go to concerts, do drugs.
Oh, man, It was great.
Yeah.
But it's a different time, it was 83
Hey.
or whatever, so it's all good.
No, I think that was a big allure of going to concerts for me as a young person. It was a place to see music and do drugs with total impunity. So
It's pretty great. Like I said, cops weren't busting people like they do nowadays. If they see you vaping, they throw you right out.
yeah.
Anyway, it was just really great.
No, Randy Rhoads was not on guitar at that point.
I was Jakey Lee.
That was Jake E. Lee. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Jake E. Lee. I actually saw Ozzy before that at the US Festival. I think Brad Gillis was playing guitar. I think.
Yeah, he wasn't in the band long either, right? Only
Yeah.
half a year or something like that.
Yeah.
When I saw him, Carmen Apiece was on the drums, a PC.
Yeah, I saw that. That was the same. Yeah.
And he didn't last long either. A couple of weeks is all I heard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got to see that rare lineup, which was awesome.
Yeah. Tommy Aldridge was the great Ozzy. Was a great Ozzy drummer. He was great.
Definitely. He was in there a long time, and, he had his hand-bashing solo that he did, and
Yeah.
came down the stairs on the riser, right? Back and forth, up and down, and just pummeled that thing. Always had great chops. He's still out there rocking, right? How old is he?
Yeah, he's still playing.
Unbelievable.
So Joel, you got anything about for Steve early on in the game, leaning towards drums, picking up drums as a drummer yourself?
Well, I'm kind of thinking about where you grew up in Jersey and when you were starting to go to shows and stuff. Obviously, you were still too young to go to clubs in a lot of cases, but I know there was metal kind of bubbling down in that area. TT Quick was playing in those days. That's Glenn Nuclear Assault. You had Johnny Z. You had an early version of Hades. Dan Lorenzo and those guys were playing. So what was metal like for you in those days, that as far as what you were able to find out about?
Well, I was in a couple of bands coming up in Jersey. One was called Lucifer's Hammer. We did a demo, which I don't have, with some friends of mine, PJ Campanella, Bobby Parati, and Billy Pinella. And then we were in another band later on that actually we played, and you mentioned TT Quick. I was in a band, Live Wire, they were called. Not really in a band with, but I jammed with these guys. And their singer, this guy Victor, knew TT Quick somehow. I think maybe he knew Glenn. And then this other band I was in was called Overlord, and we played a couple of gigs at this dojo in Farmingdale with actually Zach Wilde was in this cover band Sanctuary.
Wow.
At the time. We did 2 gigs with them, opening for them, and I played on their drummer's drum kit, double bass kit. And it was the first time I'd ever played on one, and it was on that show. But anyway, I always thought that was cool. That I played a gig with Zach back in 85 or 4 or whatever it was. I was only 15. And he was amazing then, too. I just remember, why is this guy playing in a dojo? He should be...
That's right. He was a Jersey guy, right?
Yeah.
And Zach Wilde grew up in Jersey.
Yeah. That's right. And he was very cool to me. I think he was already 19 or 20 at the time. And I remember he said to me, "Are you the drummer?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You look like a drummer." I was like, wow, that was really cool. Anyway, yeah. That's what was like coming up in Jersey for me. And like you said, Johnny Z, I never met him, but we went to Rock and Roll Heaven a time or two. Like I said, I was too young to drive. So I was just bumming rides around with my older friends who, had cars and could get around and stuff.
Who were your early drum, like as a young teenager? I know you started playing drums around 11. Who were your early drum influences? Who really spoke to you as a young person as far as drummers go?
Yeah, I loved Peter Criss right out of the gate because I think I was introduced to Alive too. And then soon after that, Kiss and Queen were huge around then, 77, 78. So sure. Roger Taylor was like amazing to me. I got into them before I got into like Zeppelin or Sabbath or anything, right?
Sure.
And they may have been more bubblegum, but it was still huge rock. I mean, Brian May is a genius. Queens are geniuses. Kiss, it sure is bubblegum, but great rock. And I never realized until later on how much Kiss sounds like the Beatles, especially the early stuff, all the 70s stuff,
Yeah.
And so I always liked that heavy, hard rock drumming. It was easy to get along to. And then, of course, Maiden and Priest came along. That was super easy to get into. And then, gradually heavier stuff was coming. I remember the Rods, weren't they, from Jersey? TT Quick, like you said. I really dug that first album.
Yeah.
The EP, right, with the Fists and Metal Man. And then like once Metallica and Slayer, Venom came along, it was like the stage was set to kind of start playing that more aggressive type of metal, And in fact, at the time, the bands I was in and playing with at the time, like the one guy, this guy Roland Torek, I think was his name, very into Maiden, good guitarist, and older than I was. He was like, "Man, that's noise. Like no one wanted to play that stuff." So I was alone and wanted to play like Metallica and Slayer stuff, which was kind of the heaviest stuff at the time, And I was sure into Priest and Maiden, but like playing those chops was kind of just like letting the guitars were doing the heavy lifting, I wanted to get in on the action of being extreme playing too, So I gravitated toward that while all the other players were not into it. But at the time, my family was moving to Florida. It was right around 85, around the summer. So it was perfect time to get out of there because no one wanted to jam with me anymore. And then moving to Florida, like I don't know if the scene turned in Jersey the way it did in Florida. Like that stuff was hitting right at that time everywhere, right? Not just in Florida, So.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's kind of was my introduction through the kinds of drummers I was into. Definitely Peter Criss, like you said, Tommy Aldridge, Clive Burr, Dave Lombardo, Lars, Gene Hoglan. And then and I was kind of off running at that point. Yeah. I had enough influence to start churning stuff out.
He has great feet, Gene Hoglan.
Incredible, right?
Yeah. Great feat.
Tireless.
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah.
So you moved down to Florida, and I have in my notes why, but I guess your family was moving down there, so you end up down in Florida. Is that where you started the Carnage? And tell us about how that came to be.
Yeah, well, like I said, as soon as I got to Florida, it was started up in school, and there was a handful of like freaks, they were calling them. So there was only a handful of us. And it was pretty easy to pick out who's who, So, and I think I'd met Brian right around then, and he had his older brother played guitar, Eric, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to start getting into playing guitar. It's like, you should, dude, because I need someone to play with. And so right from there, he was kind of the first person I started jamming with. There were other people around, but like I said, everyone was into not this, So I had to kind of... Brian was into Slayer, Sodom, these kinds of things. So he knew what to start learning and practicing, what we could rock to, not Bon Jovi and not what all these other people were playing, So it was me and him. And then we had to get his brother talked into it, who was more into Hendrix and Maiden, that kind of thing. He didn't want to go extreme metal either for a while. He thought Slayer was noise. So it took about a year for him to come around. And then at that point, I think I met these cats up at the mall at the time. Countryside Mall, was a singer, and he knew a bassist, and he was into thrash also, and he could belt out like Don Doty type Dark Angel high-pitched screams. Everyone was doing high-pitched screams. Tom Araya, Schmear, just belting out the high octave screams. That was your test of metal, because everyone was copying Halford and Dickinson, right. Obviously, just doing it in a thrash. So he could do that, and he had a PA, which seems kind of be the standard of if you're in a band, you have a PA. You're automatically in. And that was it. We had cover songs we were learning, like Slayer and Exodus and Dark Angel and a couple of Celtic Frost. And, that was 6 or 8 songs that we were rocking through. And that kind of fell apart.
Were you playing out? Was there places to play?
No, nothing like that.
Nothing like that.
No, we just had a place, a rehearsal spot.
Right.
We would just jam there whenever we could, weekly or whatever it was. And eventually that fell apart because we lost our spot. And then started playing at one of the Hoffman's houses in one of their bedrooms. And then from there is how it was around 87 at this point, where we came across Glenn through the newspaper ad. Glenn and Brian hooked up between the two of them in the end. Yeah.
Was Jonathan asking, was this in the Tampa area?
No, it was over in Clearwater, which was across the bay.
Right.
Across the Courtney Campbell Causeway is the quickest way. Route 60. All goes from the Gulf to the bay. No, right. Yeah. Anyway. So while the main scene is happening over in Tampa, that's where the clubs were. That's where the original Sunset Club was, and the first Brass Mug opened, which the Smug is still open. They're all out in Tampa, North Tampa, 56th Street, Fowler, Fletcher, that area. And like I said, we were over in Clearwater. Actually, in Tarpon Springs, we practiced there for a while. But that's North Pinellas, South Pasco. And that's along the Gulf of Mexico, not like inland by the bay,
Ray Hogan asks, were you aware of Death at the time down there?
Yeah, for sure. Death had come out, Scream Bloody Gore, 87 or something, and that came out. I definitely, my scene of people was into it, so I had heard about it. And it's just like, wow, what an incredible sounding, clean, heavy record. This is amazing. And then seeing that it was made over in Tampa, it's like, wow, that is like right. It's like we have access to all these incredible things. The studio's right over there. There was this really great music store, Thoroughbred was called at the time. Sam Ash bought them out. But we could get gear, plenty. They had everything. They would give us credit sometimes. Everyone was really cool about it.
That's great. And when you guys got rolling again? Was it with Glenn? Was it Amon? Was that the band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like I said, the cover band thing was Carnage. That was Andy's name. He came out with that, and it was a cool name, I guess. But yeah, when Glenn came in, he already had his kind of gimmick ready. The Satan, Amon, however he was pronouncing it, and he was good to go with that. Like, he was ready to step in and start writing lyrics, and he had the image, the logo, all of it ready to go. So it was like tailor-made to just step in, and we started writing songs immediately. We had a couple of structures of songs together already, and it's like we met, and he put lyrics to them the next week and like added some, trim some fat out of it musically. It's like, this doesn't need to go 12 times. 4 is enough,
Yeah.
So, like I said, we hit the ground running immediately. So the band has always kind of been like that. We always just kind of hit things that were right, and it just kind of always worked, and we were always able to progress. Obviously, there's obstacles and stuff that slows you down, but it's always pretty clear that this is, like, it always worked.
Yeah, Pat Baldwin says those demos rip, and it wasn't it the demo, the 8-track demo you guys did. Isn't that what kind of got you signed to Roadrunner?
Yeah, we did that was the Morrisound demo. That was they ended up calling that I forget which one, actually. That's the Sacrificial demo. And the Feasting the Beast demo is the first one from 87, which was we did in the garage. I think that was the 8-track one. And it was like very garagey sounding,
Yeah.
And it was like, no one's going to sign this. It sounds horrible. So we kind of tightened up the songs a little bit and waited a year or whatever it was and saved up some money to go to Morrisound. Like I said, by now we had heard of Morrisound and everything. We was like, we need to save our money for that because it's $125 an hour or whatever they were doing. And we're going to need a whole day. And so we had all kind of saved whatever it was, $250 or $300 each from working, and made an appointment. And they were like, hey, Amon? Yeah, we've been expecting you. It's like, when do you want to come in? Who do you want to work with? It was a choice. You want to work with Jim or Scott? Because I think Scott did the Sepultura album, and then Jim did he did Nasty Savage and some Sabotage stuff, maybe. Anyway, they gave us a choice. Jim had a more polished sound, and Scott had the dirtier sound, so we picked Scott.
Joel, you mentioned a couple of those bands when we were speaking this morning, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was way, and still am, but when I was much younger, late 80s, early 90s, I was way into all the stuff coming out of Florida. Back when I had hair down to here, or hair period. And you mentioned Nasty Savage. Got to give it up to Nasty Ronnie. I mean, that's forever. Sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
You had Obituary coming out. You guys. For sure. Death had a couple records, they were into it, a couple records at that point. And to me, like, when I discovered the Florida scene, it was kind of like that answer to Birmingham, where you had Priest, you had Sabbath coming out of Birmingham. It was very specific to that city. You even had bands like Benediction came out years later from Birmingham. So that was a metal city. Tampa became a metal city. What do you think it was about that environment at that time that led to so many bands like Deicide, like Death, like Obituary, like Nasty Savage? What was it about this very sunny kind of retirement place for people became like the death metal epicenter of the world?
Well, like I said, the musical environment helped. The studio, having such a pro studio over there that was friendly to metal, definitely helped. They were able to nurture and help these bands gain these quality sounds for this extreme music, like I said, the music store. Plus, once something like that is going, it inspires all of the other local musicians to kind of take it more seriously. So now you got plenty of musicians around to kind of make bands with. There's not just a couple of guitars, there's, 6 guitars, plenty for at least one for each band, or sometimes 2. Depends who you know. And like I said, it was just a hotbed for cool, new, heavy music that everyone was getting into. And it was kind of easy to play. You could be, not playing key like with Slayer type leads where it's just, chromatic. You can play anything and you're going to fit right in. So anybody could do it. There was places to do it. Like I say, there was a studio to go play and there was a club to go play and there was a place to go get your gear. And there were places to rehearse. Like everyone would just kind of go into, like these youth storage units. Probably they do it up there too. And, it was hot as hell, but people get in there, rent out units, and just jam away,
Is it safe to say, Jonathan Limo says, Scott Burns is the architect of the Tampa sound? Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. Definitely Scott and Jim, like I said, the Morris brothers have the studio. They brought in Scott and they worked together to bring him up on how to produce heavy music. And he definitely had his own taste. And Scott was doing sound live, I think, for lots of bands. He was working with Obituary Executioner early on. And so once he was working at More Sound, this is before I met him.
Sure.
Like I say, by the time we met him, he was already tuned in. And like Scott didn't play an instrument, but he was just great at tones. Could dial in guitar tones and drum sounds and just was great with it all. Even though he didn't play. Yeah. So he was able to fully focus on just tones and sounds. And riffs, that's you guys' problem. Like, he wouldn't get bogged down in that like a producer would. He was just worried about the tones and the sound of it all, which was a great strength, I think, as far as just obtaining that sound. He wasn't too worried about when anyone was playing. Like, another producer would be like, "You're playing that totally wrong." Like, you didn't get weighed down in that. He was just concerned about the sounds and making it crushing. He used to say that a lot, crushing.
We have to make it crushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Gabriel McPoland says, I heard Scott slept in the studio.
Oh, yeah, he did that a lot. He would put in so many hours. He was the Iron Man. He definitely slept there a lot.
It's interesting because isn't he pretty much out of the business at this point, and he's a bit of a private person?
Yeah, he quit producing albums for the most part a while ago, and he still has a pretty tight association with Obituary over the years. Those guys are tight, and I see him out and about once in a while for stuff. And I saw him last year at the Philly Fest up there. Came out to do because he did a book, so he was out there with his co-author there. We hung, and yeah, it's good seeing Scott. I'm glad he's enjoying, the work he did, like reflecting on it and enjoying it, because he was a little bitter there for a while, and you don't want to see that.
Yeah. Pat Baldwin asks, how intensive was Deicide's rehearsal schedule? They were leaps and bounds tighter and more technical than many of their contemporaries.
Yeah, we took it pretty serious. I know I did. I would practice on my own without the band just to make sure my drum chops were tight, And then so by the time I met up with the guys, I was able to focus on getting them tight. And, they were all pretty skilled, obviously. And we would play 3 nights a week, I think, was pretty regular. And on the weekends, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and on the weekends, maybe Saturday or maybe not. It depended. But pretty regularly, 3 nights a week, at least.
That definitely showed in that first record. I got to tell you, I mean, you spent time in Freehold. I don't know how far up north you got, and if you know Sussex County, New Jersey or not, way up there in the sticks, kind of close to Milford, more the Pennsylvania border. That was the sticks in the suburbs. And when your first record hit the suburbs in 1990, man, I mean, I was friends with a few metalheads, the few that they actually were. And we were like 13 years old, but we thought we knew everything about metal. And we would talk about, oh, what's the heaviest stuff we could find? Back then, it was, Sepultura, Beneath the Remains, Death, Spiritual Healing, Obituary, So We Rot. And we thought, man, this is as heavy as you're going to get. And then your first record comes out in 1990, and it's like game over. Next couple stuff. So, I got to ask you, because you're surrounded by all these other bands doing their thing at that time. Was the heaviness factor of Deicide intentional to go up to that 9th degree, or was it just kind of being who you were and the personalities in the band and the musical aptitude you brought to the table that kind of made the sound as heavy as it ultimately ended up doing? Or was it just we're going to intentionally up the ante here?
Yeah, we said let's turn up the heat on us and everybody. It's like, I remember when I was pushing myself skill wise to play those songs, like that was the edge of my skill level, is what I could play on that record at that time. And then as I kept pushing myself, and I was able to play the stuff that ended up being on the next record. And I kept pushing myself endurance wise and speed wise, and I tried to do better, more complicated fills, but you just start copying other people eventually. So I just try to focus on the beats, the heaviness, grinding it out, and leave the jazzy fills to the people who are kind of better at it and have already done it. It's like you don't want to copy people too much, And once you start doing that, it's obvious you're hearing the same fills here. That at least I was like, I'm just doing that fill from that record. Maybe somebody might not notice, but I know. So let me just try to do something a little different here.
Yeah. Well, I've always believed when it comes to metal, if you want to know what's really happening, you talk to the kids in the suburbs, because they're the ones who are getting into it the most. And I got to tell you, in the sticks, there was nothing like that first Deicide record. We were just like, forget it. We've reached the mountaintop. We're not going to hear anything more intense than this. And I got to tell you, man, 35 years later, I still believe that. But that record had a massive impact on a lot of people, man, where I was growing up. That record was really the shit at that time.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, man. And it's hard to see it happening when you're inside the band, because you kind of just, we're getting some attention, we're doing some interviews, and we're getting some offers to go play and all like that, and that's good, but you're kind of inside the bubble. You don't see how much it's affecting you. I mean, you definitely see we're causing a disturbance. That's good, but to see how it's affecting people's minds, like their reactions and how they're taking it, are they taking it? How seriously are they taking it? Are they taking it to heart? Are they just letting it? Are they just listening to it, or are they just like, oh, it's noise, or I love the music but not the vocals, or some people just like offended, or are they enraptured, or what?
Well, I mean, we were young kids watching Friday the 13th movies and all the horror stuff coming out, so that was our thing. And then we had a band whose frontman had an inverted cross embedded into his forehead. We got to get into that. You got to think. I'm 13 years old. It was like the most holy shit moment I think I've ever had as a music fan with your first record. Because we knew about Sabbath, Ozzy was crazy, all this. We knew about Maiden, okay, Eddie, all that.
Yeah.
You fucking guys come out with that first record, and it's like, the dude's got a cross, inverted cross in his forehead. This is not Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that was definitely nuts. And I remember, when he did it and all that. And I could see your point, being 13 and having that happen to you. I keep thinking about it like, when it happened to me, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. Let's see how far and how big we could blow people up, But yeah, as a 12 and 13-year-old, I can imagine how traumatizing that must have been.
Well, to clarify, it was really fucking cool.
Good. I'm glad to know.
I was all in at that point. I figured my parents could even see the album cover, and they're pretty liberal types. I'm like, nope. This is the one I hide under the bed.
Even that's a little much. Yeah, I remember hearing a lot of reactions like that, and certainly we had some protest stuff. Nothing major, and definitely the farther Bible Belt area you go, you'd have some angry moms with some signs. Nothing serious though.
Do you feel in retrospect? Do you feel this album's aged well? Looking back, are you happy with all these years later? Do you feel do you feel like it's aged well at this point? I know we're sort of making our way. Obviously, was just put out in this CD box set we're eventually going to make our way to. But what are your feelings towards the self-titled record today?
Yeah, well, I think people definitely still want to hear those songs, a lot of them. And listening back to the tones, it was definitely, I remember my kit was pretty beat down at the time. So we rented a kit and rented some cymbals. And I think they rented everything. Anyway, so we had good gear. And so, like I said, good tones. And to this day, yeah, I just remember playing on that kit and getting those tones in the studio that day. And that was our live sound. That's why it sounded like that, because it wasn't done in post-production, that's what it sounded like. So it was easy to just get it on tape and then mix it, because it was done pretty quick. I think we did that whole record, at least the tracking, in a week. I may be wrong there. Maybe the drums took a week. They wanted to take it was about 2 songs a day, I think they wanted me to do.
And this, of course, before Click Track and Pro Tools or any of that. This is
it's before Pro Tools, and I didn't play the clicks back then. I started eventually playing to a click around 2010 or whatever that was. But yeah, a lot of that stuff I was just freeballing it for sure.
Yeah. What's the lore, the folklore about you guys getting signed to Roadrunner? How did Roadrunner come calling? Was it Monty Connor that signed you guys?
Yeah, Monty signed us. It was Glenn who took the demo and delivered it up to them personally at their office. And, there's a big story that goes along with that, and how true it is or not is just good folklore, no matter what. So, but it worked. So, he ended up, we had contracts pretty quickly thereafter, and I don't know if we had offers for anyone else, but, Roadrunner was a pretty big label at the time, and it was like, this is a great place to be. So we just kind of went with them right out of the gate. And they were pretty supportive. Remember, we saw Monty down in Florida a few times. He would come visit the band, see how we're doing, what's going on, how was the record. Took us to Red Lobster a few times. He was big on Red Lobster. Anyway. And, yeah. Like I say, very, very supportive of us and the music and Glenn and the scene, what we were doing for sure. He came down to make sure I was actually playing the drums, like Dead by Dawn. He's like, all right, so play Dead by Dawn. I have to see you do this. Like playing double bass drums for that amount of time was, for kind of, not everyone was doing it back then. Right. So we came down to make sure it was
real.
Yeah, and so I did it, and he was like, wow, cool. Yeah, let's get you in the studio tomorrow.
Yeah. Jonathan says best label from the 90s. In a way it was. I mean, we've talked about on this show many times how, that kind of Roadrunner kiss of death contract where everything was cross-collateralized. The 8-record deal with the merchandise and the publishing and a lot of bands never got out from underneath that. And you're one of the few bands that kind of, I know we're jumping forward, but you guys made it all the way through and got the fuck through that contract and went on to other things, which is pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, we signed that deal.
Yeah.
Like I said, as we got more successful, I think Glenn managed to do a renegotiation somewhere along the line around 90, whatever, okay. 94 or 6, and it got a little better.
A little better.
But yeah, as part of the renegotiation, we added 2 albums to the terms. It was originally 5, and then it became 7. But we used a live album as one of them.
Right.
And then, there's a price for everything.
Yeah. Was that?
But like I said, we ended up doing it all. Like I said, I was like, we're like, what? Let's break up. Let's declare bankruptcy. It was like, that's ridiculous. Let's
All
just
that
write
shit,
an album
yeah.
and get out of this thing. What are we supposed to shoot ourselves in the foot to, it didn't make sense to me. It's like, let's just write a record and get this thing over with already. It's 2 more records. How hard could that be? It's my attitude anyway.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
yeah.
In other words, this record deal sucks. Let's go talk to them. Well, how did you do? Well, we owe them a couple more records.
Works.
Good work, boys.
Great job, everybody. It's Miller time.
Yeah, right. Holy shit, that's funny. Oof. Joel, I know you're a big fan of the Legion record. Any perspective on this, Joel?
Well, I mean, for me, the first album is always going to be definitive because it's the first one that I heard and everybody heard from the band. But Legion was really, at the time and even now, such a massive step forward, not only in production, but just the performance and the songwriting of that record. So how much of the Legion material existed, when the first album was being put together?
Yeah, I think we had Holy Deception. We had I think we had some of Satan Spawned, and we had some of Repent to Die, maybe. Because those songs have a lot of that 3/4 and a lot of that's similar to a lot of stuff on the first record, right? So you can kind of hear the resemblance. And then then around 91 it was like, well, now we need all fresh stuff, and so the scene was moving forward, and we were too. So that's when like the riff writing got a little more technical, and the time signatures maybe got a little more technical, and we kind of fused those two styles together a bit on that record. That's why you can hear it, and everything got a little faster too.
Right.
So that's kind of how that record came about, I mean, like I say, you can kind of hear what came from where if you listen to the styles of the parts.
There's definitely, being a drummer myself, I always listen to the drums first. And it definitely seems to me that as the band went on, there was a lot more blasting going on those songs. Where I think like the first record, in a lot of ways, was kind of more traditional thrash. Definitely more of like the Rain and Blood kind of vibe, but sped up. This is where it went in the future, which was a lot more blasting. So that's just an observation I have. It seemed to be a little bit more intense as it went on from a drumming perspective.
Yeah, well, that is definitely true. Blasting was kind of still new to me in 89 and 90 and 91. So as I was getting better at it, I was able to implement it more, in 91, 92. By the time Legion had come out, I was kind of had come to grips with it, like I said, where I could use it more effectively and more often.
Right.
So yeah, I was just throwing it in everywhere. Because that was the thing. Everything was speeding up and getting more blast. So it's like, and you remember the years after that, around the 2000s, when all the new kids who were younger than our generation, or maybe it was your generation, you're younger than me. It's like they would carry around the BPM meter, like the drum pad with the counter, and they were counting their blast beats per 60 seconds. What's your BPM per minute? I don't know, man. Get that thing away from me.
I didn't know you could do that. That exists.
Oh yeah, dude, it was all the rage. Dudes were up to 150. I don't even know the numbers. Crazy numbers. Anyway, that's how all these super speeds were achieved. These dudes were really pushing themselves. And like I said, at that point, I was like, I'm gonna start pushing myself towards writing songs. That's kind of what my band needed. Not to be faster, but we needed material. That's when I was like, I got to focus a little more on playing guitar now as well. So that's where instead of working the BPM drum pad, I was hitting that 6-string.
Hey, tell us about the songwriting process. I mean, you play a lot of instruments. When you're writing for Deicide, you doing? How does that work? You're doing it on a guitar, an acoustic. What's the process for you?
Yeah, well, for years I had
acoustic.
nothing but for years I had nothing but an acoustic. Yeah,
Right.
you bet. I still got the first one. It had 5 strings on it for the longest time, like 10 years. Anyway, I wrote a ton of material on that. I wrote everything up through, I think, Serpents of the Light on that first acoustic.
Wow.
And I just remember when I was alone and I would hit them first 2 strings, it got a pretty good growl going. I was like, this is all right. Anyway, it was enough to write on,
Yeah.
And then I didn't really have a tape recorder. I would just kind of jot down the notes and like a code that I could remember, And and I was the drummer, so I know what to put drum wise to them. And I'd just show the fellas the riffs. Said, play this and follow me.
And Glenn would write the lyrics.
Glenn would write the lyrics, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it was a good team that way. Because I've tried to write lyrics a time or two, and they, like, every time I check back on them, I'm like, these are stupid. I wouldn't even sing this.
I wouldn't even sing these.
Yeah, so anyway, I just stick with the music. That's kind of been, that comes way easier.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you asked, I just kind of write riffs and jot them down, or like I said, now I just record a riff, but I've done it, write singular riffs and then that are good, bringing them together. And then for a while there, I was just, let me write an entire song at once, so it's got I captured the entire vibe at once, and so I was doing that for a while. I did that for a couple records, and just tried different ways, just to kind of see if one's better than the other.
Makes sense. Was it this is an early kind of tour shot, I guess, of you guys out with Vader. Was it tough touring on those early records, and how did you kind of break out, and who's really the happy to see you on the road when you finally got out there?
Yeah, we always had a pretty good run with our shows and touring. Everyone, there's ups and downs everywhere. I think everyone felt them every 10 years. It's kind of a lull, but we always did really good. And over in Europe, we had always kind of had a company, to provide a bus and full tour and good gear and all that. We always did well over there. As far as that goes, like they, somewhat reputable companies, and definitely reputable companies and people over the years. I mean, our very first tour over there was a disaster. It was a train wreck of dysfunction. The guys fucking ran out of gas 3 times. Who does that? Who doesn't learn from the first time
or the second
to
time?
Gas up? Anyway, it was like November over there. It was cold.
Wow.
And then, by the third time we had a gig in Germany and they didn't even show up. They had the gear. For some reason we were there, but the gear wasn't. And it was like, this is anyway. It was over. It's like, this is not, we can't continue on like this. It's embarrassing. Anyway, a bunch of gear got stolen. Glenn was like, this is over. So, I mean, you got to make sure, you have people who know what they're doing over there, not some Joe Blow's first tour.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was our first tour. Maybe it was this guy's first tour, or maybe he was on his way out. Who knows? He was an older guy. I remember that. Anyway.
Yeah.
You live and learn.
You live and learn. Is there, in retrospect, was there any place that really took to Deicide, like that early on, that became like a hotbed of activity, or a place that when you saw on the itinerary, oh man, I'm so psyched, we're going back to,
Yeah, like I say, England was always great.
Mm-hmm.
Holland was great. Belgium did great. Germany was great, especially early on.
Right.
90 and 92 especially, where we're huge. We're playing Huxley's, whatever it was called over there, big arena type place.
I remember.
And then, after 93, and after that, we were playing down at whatever club. Like, we had that initial boom of interest, and then once everyone got their earful, it was like, now we're just back in the clubs, which is fine, But yeah, I mean, Spain, we always did great, was huge. South America, we always are huge down there, but I think everybody is.
Yeah.
Mexico. Remember first time we went to Mexico, we played in this boxing arena down there. I forget the name of it, but we played there 5-6 years in a row, or trips, 5-6 trips down there in a row. And it was packed every time. We're talking 900, 1,200 people. And insane too. And the gear down there was horrible. Like, remember the guy had to stand behind the marshal to manually hold the cord in the back of the amp because the jack was broken out. So minimal PA, minimal everything. But man, the shows went on and crazy. People just flying up onto the stage.
Mexico's hit or miss,
Yeah, that, like I say, everywhere has their act together now as far as gear goes. But back then it was rough, man. Playing on those drum sets with like 1978 hardware.
Oof.
Yeah, man. The thing would fall apart on you as you're playing it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, sure. Let me take a sponsor break. Let's do a sponsor break. If you got to take a whiz or anything, Steve, we'll come back
right.
and let's talk. We'll come back and we'll continue on the timeline and we'll make our way up to the box set. So we'll see you in a couple minutes, Steve.
All right, great.
All right. Halftime.
There you go.
Halftime on the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Yeah, great. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, let's everybody hang in there. Let's do some sponsor stuff. Everybody shake it out, and we'll be back. Lots more to talk about. I'll see you in a minute, Joel. And now a word from our sponsors. Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Will that be cash or in debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Yo, what's happening? I'm out here at one of our all-ages Sunday matinees on the Bowery. I hope that you are enjoying today's show. I just want to let you know that the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live needs your support. Please step up. There is a Patreon page that has a lot of unique program. Shows are announced there first. Lots of good stuff. There's a PayPal address right there on the screen if you want to make a contribution. There's also a super chat function. You could do that, but the bottom line is this show exists because of your support. We're going to be doing it for a long, long time. Thank you for all your support through the years. Back to the show.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking...
And we're back. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is Steve Asheim from Deicide and co-hosted by our good friend and cohort, Joel Ghostin. Hey, want to mention, let's go with this. Some upcoming shows. There will be no show a week from, there's no show Wednesday. There's no show a week from today because we'll be down at the Bowery for Crazy Eddie's last show, free all ages Sunday matinee. But we will be back here Wednesday, August 6th with Dimi Duvas from Crown of Thorns, Still Suit, Scarhead, Homicidal, and Smoke AD. A week after that, we got Alec Mackay on the show from the Untouchables, The Faith, Ignition, The Warmers, and Hammered Hulls. A bit after that, we got Tim Williams from VOD on the show talking about the VOD CD. I don't know if I'd call it a box set, but they just sent this to me with imprint and with their first record and imprint on it. So that's happening. And after Tim, Johnny Eggs from Sheer Terror on Sunday, August 24th. Mike Davenport from the Ataris on Wednesday, September 3rd. Rat from the Varukers on Wednesday, September 17th. Yo, Bobby Gustafson from Overkill, Screw, Painword, Satan's Taint, and Violence will be on Sunday, September 21st. And we just announced that Zach from Bulldoze, Agents of Man, Homicidal, Scarhead, and Truth and Rights will be on Sunday, October 15th. So lots going on. The march to the sea continues. Hey, I want to mention, please support the show. Patreon is the way to do it. Best way to do it. Also, I see that Alistair Growley just did a super chat function for $2. That entitles you to ask a question, my good man. Assuming you are a man. So do a super chat function. If you do it in color, it comes through. Ask a question. Get to the front of the line. Thanks for supporting the show. What can I say? There's the PayPal address as well. It's your support that makes this happen. I'm preaching to the choir here. I know. Hey, I want to shout out Frankie, who just sent me this shot saying this is how we watch the show. So big shout out to Frankie, who seems to be watching it on the big screen. I always wonder how people watch the show, you know? So pretty cool. I guess that's a good way to watch it. I guess when you watch it on the big screen like that, you see the pictures in full and the text that I put up on the screen. So I do wonder from time to time how people watch the show. I know some people watch it. Some people are driving down the highway right now. Some people are watching it on the phone, right? Like Hegs. So you're from Boston. Well, welcome. Yeah. On the porch with Jim Beam. Okay. There you go. That said, let's continue on our quest. Let's bring on our co-host. What's happening, Joel?
Oh, not much, man. Really liking this episode. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I knew this was going to be good. And I really, and you know what? Let me get Steve on. I'll tell him this. Hey, man.
What's up?
You know, I really enjoyed doing a deep dive into the catalog, into the Deicide catalog. I really enjoyed it. One of the great things about doing this show is, you know, sometimes a guest will come on and I'll get to go deeper than I would or I have, and this was the case. And I tell you, one record that really kept coming up that I really liked was the Stench of Redemption. That fucking record sounds great, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I did. I worked a lot on that one myself. Produced it. I got a producer credit on that one. I put
That's
so
right.
much time in on that one.
Yeah. I mean that's a little. I mean we're kind of going through the timeline. I know I'm jumping through the timeline quite a bit.
Sure. No, man, I appreciate it. That was a good one. Like I said, a lot of great playing on that one.
Yeah, this record. I kept coming back to this record. I love the way it sounds. You did a great job.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it very much.
It's a great record, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, to kind of, but I digress. I know you guys were really, worked hard. You guys you were proficient. You toured, you worked, you put records out. Any sort of, I know you split with the brothers at some point. Any perspective on the split and how you and Glenn, decided to keep going and how you kept at it?
Well, like I said, with a split like that, you know how it is being in bands or with anything, things disintegrate over time, just on a personal level or on a professional level, or just whatever is going on with an individual person at the time. Anyway, whatever the case is going to be, people come and go out of a band is what I've learned. Like that was our first lineup of the band. It was solid and it lasted a long time, and it was cemented as the first, all the records we did together. So
Yeah.
so when it fell apart like that first time, it was daunting. Deciding how we were going to move forward, and like I was talking about earlier, how things going to happen. It kind of came together kind of pretty quickly and easily. I mean, a couple of phone calls and we brought it together, and we were playing again in a week. And anyway, it was enough to, like I said, I think we had a tour booked that this whole breakup happened right around, and so we were able to put a lineup together and go do that tour, as rough as it was. Anyway, and I've learned over the years that not as everything is permanent, especially in a band or any job I can imagine. Where people got to come and go for whatever reason, personal or otherwise. You got to move on. If this is going to be my thing that I'm going to do, I can't be stopped by that. So it's like, if we have to just get some people in here, let's do that. And let's make it good. Let's improve on it. Let's make it better. Let's up it. Let's move forward positively is my thing, so that's what I like to do. That's how I approach it.
What was Jack Owen and Ralph, were they the first ones in at that point?
Yeah, well, I called Jack first.
Yeah.
And luckily he had kind of been boning up on Deicide songs by the time he came over. The first time we jammed, he already knew 8 or 10 songs.
Right.
I was like, this is amazing. I was like, do you know any guitars? He's like, sure, Ralph. And I knew Ralph too, because he had been given Hoffman's lessons as far as lead playing. Anyway, so he was ready to fill right in. It's like we didn't have to. I didn't want to go through this long audition process or any of that. There was no internet. We didn't have management. I was like, it's like, let's do it. These guitarists fell right in my lap. Let's just do it. And like I said, you see what came of it. The Stench and the following record. Stench was the big one, right? And, we held on to that lineup for a while, and certainly Jack held on for another little while. Performances, were what they were. The guys weren't the tightest guys as far as guitarists, but they were heavy. Jack is legendary. Ralph too, And I always tried to hold my end down. Glenn certainly did his, so we were able to get it done still.
Yeah. And like we said before, you sort of you worked your way through the Roadrunner wasteland and ended up with Earache. Any particular reason why you landed at Earache?
Well, they were really into signing us. They had sent their guy Al down to meet with us, and they were, again, taking us to Red Lobster.
It's all about Red Lobster with Deicide.
It's all about the Red Lobster, baby.
Deicide.
Anyway,
good to know.
Yeah, and they wanted to, finance the record, make a big deal of it. They offered us a big budget, and so I'm like, yes, okay, let's do this. And they were a big label at the time too. They had Napalm, Morbid, several other heavy bands. So it was like, yes, let's try them for a while. And we're still on a good relationship with the Earache guys to this day. I do, at least.
Yeah. Joel, got anything?
Well, you mentioned Ralph. Rest in peace to Ralph. He had a
of course,
amazing history as a player. Of course, Obituary.
Absolutely.
Chuck. He had a lot of footprints in this scene.
Yes.
When you look back on him, what do you think perhaps made his playing unique, not only to Deicide, but perhaps some of the other bands that he was a part of, having worked with him so closely the time he did?
Oh yeah, I was just impressed with his musical knowledge. Like he knew every note, knew every scale, could name it, knew all the modes, knew just knew it instinctively. How just some people are really good at. He just knew the knowledge, could play it. Like I said, watching him record his leads in the studio was an amazing thing to see. I really learned a lot from the experience myself. How to create a lead, play it, put it together, plot it out, kind of, right? Then actually lay it down. And then the things he could do. He could triple track a complex, fast ripping lead and nail it every time, stack it just beautifully. And I never seen anyone do that. And when I talk to other people about doing, they're like, "That's impossible." It's like, yeah, if you play like slop, it's impossible. If you play precisely and you know what you're playing and how to play it, it's not impossible. I've seen it done. So that's why some of that stuff that is on Stench of Redemption and Until Death Do Us Part, those, like some of those Ralph albums, are really incredible. I don't know, like guitarists, if you can like put on your headphones or whatever and like listen to some of them guitar shit, some of that, those leads are triple stacked. That's why they sound big like that. That's not an effect.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like that record. Good.
Yeah, right? There's some great stuff on there.
Good shit. Hey, have you seen your hardcore trading card? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, wait, here. I got it for you. Here you go.
Yeah.
Boom. Here you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's rad. Does it have stats on the back? Like
it
tops?
does. It does. Hold on. I got the back too.
That's rad.
Here comes the back. Wait, hold on. Here's the back.
What is like the series of cards it's included in? Like Tampa or like death metal or like just metal?
It's hardcore legends trading cards. It's just kind of,
wow.
So here you
That's
go.
That's rad.
Yeah. Band. I like this. Bands performed with: Elementary School Band trumpet, Carnage drums, Amon drums, Deicide drums, guitar, and piano. Yeah. Very cool.
That's hilarious. That's amazing, actually. Look at that, dude. It's got the green and gray. That's amazing. I gotta get one of those.
Oh, this is. You know what? And thanks, Josh, for sending me this. But here under the personal trivia, and let's get your take on this. In 2007, Steve was arrested on suspicion of bank robbery while trying to make a deposit at a bank in Austria. The banking staff was concerned with his appearance and clothing and the fact that he was handling cash that had red stains on it. After explaining to the police that the money was cash the band had made on their tour and the money was stained because of the beetroot he had in his pocket, he was released without any further charges. True or false?
I wish I could say that's not true. But it is. It's totally like pretty much 100% true. Like to what you read. Yeah, that's my life. That's how things go. Say some things, but like I say, it went pretty smooth. I made it back for the show.
There's no way this guy should have this money. Let's arrest him.
Let's arrest him. They took me downtown. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
We had a quick turnaround, though. Like I said, the chief was like, "Get him out of here."
Yeah, he's just another one.
Get this guy out of my station.
Yeah. There you go. So let's. I mean, let's bring it to sort of before we get into the box set. What's the current state of affairs? The current band, the lineup, and how you feeling about it?
Yeah, well, there we are. We actually just lost Kevin Meadows, what we call him, Kevin. He dropped out. We're all on good terms, though. We saw him at a gig not too long ago. But we got a new guy in, this guy, Conan the Destroyer. He's from LA. He's a buddy of Taylor's, our other new guitarist. So, and he's a hell of a player. It's going to be some good live shows we're going to have coming up. Like I said, this guy's a lead shredder too. We're going to have. It's going to be fun. We're going to have like the Homage for Satan leads the big harmony in there. We're going to have them both play it so it's harmonized live. It's going to be fucking amazing.
There you
They
go.
can pull it off, which they should be able to. And so, like I said, it'll just be, like I said, there's, yeah, you got to carry on. There's no stopping us. So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
wish Kevin well. I wish everyone well. So,
Yeah. And
I wish me
see-
well. So let's keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. No, I think there comes a point in bands after you get over the initial we're losing our original guys thing. I think
Yeah.
You realize that, hey, the band is kind of me and this guy, and whoever else. This band's not going to fold its tent because we're going to keep going. It's me and this guy, and we're going to get other guys, and we're going to keep going. Is that fair to say?
Hey, man, a band like this, especially when you go professional, it takes on a life of its own where it's like a train that is going, and it's pretty hard to derail.
Yeah.
People can drop off and new people can get on. And like say, even me, anyone can be replaced, So yeah, like I said, once you create these songs, it becomes about the songs, not about the people anymore. It's what I've noticed from all of these other bands that are still out there and existing and playing. It's about the music and the songs that have been created. And of course, you revere the people who created them and made the records and all that. Still, beyond that, people are going to come and go out of bands. It's just the way bands are, and how musicians are, and how anything is, any job, like they say.
And
But yeah, it's a train. It's going to keep going, and you can stay on, you can get off, or you'll fall off, or whatever's going to happen. But it's going to keep going. So you might as well stay on. That's what I'm trying to do.
yeah, and you guys are heading out to South America again, right?
Yeah, we're heading down there in September. Be down there about a month, I suppose. With Behemoth, yeah. Known those guys for a very long time, so it'll be fun bunch of shows. Like I said, we go down to South America often. We always have a very good time down there. Great shows. So looking forward to some more of that.
Yeah, that looks nice lineup. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, buddy, for sure.
Yeah, Joel, I know we got a couple in the back pocket. What do you got?
Yeah, I got to ask you about the Satanism thing because Drew and I got a lot of comments from people about that, and how hardcore into it were the people in the band. I could tell you myself, I'm not in the organization anymore, but for years I was a spokesperson for the Church of Satan, so I know a lot about the philosophical side of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, but my impression always was with Deicide, it was more of that sort of horror movie variety representation of it, and more about just being the extreme side of things and the sort of horror movie focus side of it. Am I incorrect about that? Because I don't want to disregard someone's philosophical perspective on it. But what does that represent for you? What does it represent for Deicide as a band?
Well, me personally, I mean, I've never joined the Church of Satan. I read, literature on it, and I was, never did ritualistic things. I was more just into dark imagery and morbid things and extreme music, drums and riffs and the music aspect and the darkness of the satanic imagery was a great vehicle for all that. Certainly, as worn out as people like to say and passe it is, or maybe whatever. The other guys in the band, they were taken it pretty seriously for a while with the burning of the crosses. I mean, both him and Brian Larvae was gone. Larvae burned one in his arm and Glenn in his head. And, Eric, he was certainly no saint. I don't think he did any burnings or anything. But, you get swept up in these things kind of. And, It's fun to do and be around. And as other people got all whipped up into it, it just made it even more fun. There were a couple of real freaks we ran into on the road or just around town who took it very seriously. This one guy was drawing blood and writing fucking messages. And it's like, anyway. Certain philosophies still attain. I mean, the way you live your life, certainly you're not following some righteous road. You were kind of doing what you can to enrich yourself with knowledge, wealth, or whatever. And I don't know if it's greed or, and I'm not saying I am, but it's like I think ambition is a good thing. Some people look down on it. I think it's good to have strong qualities and traits. How else are you going to survive and achieve out in the world? So whether that falls under some kind of not whether it does, I know it is in some of the tenets, whatever sex, yeah, it's in there. I don't follow anything organized. Yeah, I have my own thing to do in my own way, in my own time. I'm busy enough with this kind of thing. It's like George Carlin said about once you get a bunch of people together, they start wearing their own funny hats. Look out.
Or to put it another way, what happens when you put a bunch of nonconformists together?
Yeah, all of a sudden, conform.
Right. Hey, this is a good question from Fangzine. Any memorable encounters with protesters or activists out there? Sort of when things were really heating up, when you were out on the road, did you ever have any like really memorable like?
Yeah, the thing over in Europe in '92 is a pretty good stories going around about that with the bomb going off in Sweden, and then the bomb threat in Bradford, or I forget which English town we were touring in. So all kinds of security, all this extra massive logistics and security measures and security people and searches and all this nonsense. Yeah, back in '92, it was like being at the airport nowadays with the frisking everyone and with the lines, and it's again in a fucking gig. Because someone had, like, after the bombing in Sweden, later on the tour in England, like I said, the word was out and there was a threat, and then someone drove by and threw a shoebox over the wall or into the parking lot, whatever, and everyone thought that was the bomb, so they had to do this whole evacuation and bring in the bomb squad to check out this shoebox. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that was a pretty extreme example of something that went bad. Like I said, it's soccer moms in the Midwest are not a big deal, but
Right.
but animal rights activists in England and Satanists in Sweden, they're a little more serious.
Yeah.
About their fire bombings and their
Yeah.
their soccer riots and all this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
This is-
it depends what, where, and like I said, kind of that was when things were shocking. Nothing's really shocking anymore. Who are you gonna piss off nowadays?
Yeah, just scroll through TikTok.
Yeah, no, that's when this was new and shocking, and the Satanic Panic. Remember, they were hearing about that. They used to call it from the '80s to the '88 to '92, whatever it was.
Sure. Let's talk about this upcoming CD box set that Cherry Red is putting out. And I want to thank Mark Freebase who actually connected us. I know you weren't involved in some of the earlier reissues, but you were involved with this one. Why did you throw your hat in the ring on this one?
Yeah, because Dan asked me to. He's the guy who was putting it together. He wrote me. He's like, "Hey, you want to do some write a forward or whatever, something, comment?" I was like, "Sure." Dan used to work at Eric. Dan Awar. Anyway, yeah. So, like I said, I still contact these people, and I'm good terms with everyone. So he asked me, and I said, "Sure."
Yeah. So this is 82 tracks. This is the 8 Roadrunner records, correct?
Is it?
Yeah.
7? Or is there an 8th? I don't know.
5, 6. Yeah, 8, including the live one. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a big box.
Yeah.
It's cool, having these box sets and stuff put together. I don't know if this is the second reissue of it or something, but it's like, keep them coming.
Yeah.
It's
called,
cool, the reprints, and yeah, it's cool to see that there's an interest out there for vinyl and for our stuff on vinyl. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that we're kind of looking at this as a body of work here. This is like eight the Roadrunner years, 8 albums. It really constitutes, a pretty hefty body of work. 82 tracks is a lot,
It is.
So, but yeah, that's the box set. It's available. Go to Cherry Red, 8 CD box set. It's basically Deicide the Roadrunner years. So.
Wow. Yeah, impressive, man. Like I said, I can't thank Cherry Red enough for keeping putting this stuff out. And like I said, Dan for hooking me up with it, and with you guys. He's the one who asked me to come on with you guys. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks to him. Definitely thanks to you guys for having me on and pumping it like this. And, for your questions and knowing all your stuff, man. I really appreciate it, man.
This looks like they put together a really cool package.
Yeah, I can't wait to get it and check it out. Like I said, they kind of sent me some proofs to look at, but it's not like getting one and opening it,
It's not like holding the real thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That said, let me take a quick sponsor break. Let me do some sponsor shit and come back, and we'll take some questions from around the world, okay?
All right, let's do that. I'm running out of some juice. Let me plug this thing in, get some juice in it.
Plug it in. You got a couple minutes. All right. Woo! So still marching on. Great guest.
Yeah, totally.
Let me do some sponsorship shit, and we'll come back and we'll take some questions. All right.
Sounds great.
That's right. You, my friend, are watching the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by blah 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 and Candle Witch Company. Candle Witch Co. Very appropriate here. Candle Witch Co. is a female-owned entrepreneur business based out of Connecticut. Owner Rachel King Keys handcrafts soy wax candles set with intentions for your sanctuaries. She has accomplished a life goal dream since beauty school, debuting her artist showcase Hotties and Hellions that features live bands, burlesque, sideshow acts, vendors, food trucks, and this year a live auction with all proceeds going to the mental health program Punk Rock Saves Lives. Catch her in the tri-state area doing her thing, slinging candles at events, and keep an eye out for her coming to New York in the spring 2026. You can find her on Etsy and on Instagram at Candle Witch Co. Come on now. 126 Hardcore Clothing is a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them. Ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. Hey, post up your questions now for our guest when we come back. Any questions from Steve from Deicide? Go deep, get weird. Post them now so when we get it back on, we can get with it. In the meantime, the Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in work with musicians in all music genres that design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as the style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rolle, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information on online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and of course, www.texassilverrush.com. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Last but not least, Mad Vintage buys, sells, collects band shirts, primarily hardcore. The DIY operation was started and is operated by a hardcore kid who just loves collecting and eventually got into vintage clothing, specifically the realm of vintage band shirts. They're always looking to buy out collections to either keep, sell, or trade new shirts added daily at www.madvintage.com and post it on Instagram. Dig deep into that closet of crap. Reach out to them. Help me help you. Mad Vintage. That said, hey, want to mention some upcoming events. And who the fuck's blowing me up on Facebook while the show's Mark Freebase. We were okay. I got it, Mark. Couple of upcoming events. Sunday, August 3rd. 1 week from today, it is sadly Crazy Eddie's final show. It's part of the Uptown Rumble music exhibit on display at the Museum of the Bronx. Also featuring Brass Knuckle Brigade, the return of Enziguri, Four in the Chamber, and Goat Immense. Come on down. Listen, it's 1 week from today. It's Crazy Eddie's last show. Get your friggin' ass down to the Bowery Electric. Don't make me come looking for you. After that, August 9th, ID, Incendiary Device, we will be playing the Upstage Music Fest in Pennsylvania, along with E-Town Concrete, Sworn Enemy, Mephistopheles, Brick by Brick, Tension, and many others. If you are in that area, August 9th, come on through. It's going to be great. Sunday, August 31st, back at the Bowery, Demise, Nailed to the Cross, Cropsy, Jackknife Johnny, Concrete Burial, DJ Sid the Kid Sound System, free all ages Sunday matinee. Sunday, September 14th, back at said Bowery Electric, 24/7 Spies, and others. Just announced this the other day, ID is headlining at Bowery Electric Sunday, August 12th, along with our friends Non-Residents, Dead Blowhammer featuring Rob Kabula, Overstand featuring Todd the Kid from Warzone, and Steel Toe Solution featuring Travis from Hub City Stompers. So all that going down. Yo, if you're out in San Francisco area, we're playing with GBH at Crash Fest on October 18th. And then, of course, the big Women of the Pit Coat Drive Holiday Slamboree is Sunday, December 14th. I know it's a lot, but I think you can handle it. I have confidence in you. That said, questions for our guest. Hey, Frankie, did you see Frankie? I put the picture up of you watching the show. There you go. That said, I think we're pretty good. Oh, once again, listen, I know I'm preaching to the converted here. There's a Patreon page. Listen, fucking join Patreon and support this show. Don't be a lurker. There's also a PayPal address there. Do a super chat function. Follow the show on Instagram. It is pick up your communication device. It's at Stone Films, and we're seeing if you're watching in rerun right now, right there, subscribe to Stone Films NYC YouTube page, and please reach over to the device you're watching this on and give the show a thumbs up or a heart or a like right now. Do it for me. I don't ask much. Do it for me. That said, let's clear the deck. What the heck? Let's bring on our co-host. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man, there's some great shows coming up at the Bowery Electric. I didn't realize. That's great, man. I've never seen the Spies live. I think I should make it down for that one.
Yeah.
And definitely want to see Todd Hamilton's thing he's doing now. I haven't talked to Todd in ages.
Yeah, that's the show we're headlining. Yeah, that's the show we're headlining. With this is a great show. I mean, this is
that blow hammer too.
Yeah, it's October, but yeah, and then the Spies and Rebelmatic Ache. This is a good one, and there's a lot of great shows lined up. I mean, me and Larry have it down at this point, and Ray. We kind of have the routine down. So
right, yeah, very cool, very cool.
That said, let's bring our guest on, who's going to be pummeled with some weird and inappropriate questions. No, I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
All right, let's see what we got. Let's see. All right, here we go. This is our personal friend Frankie says, who's a drummer. I would love to know, are you using ankle technique on your feet, or are you using combination of your leg and ankle, or is it just old fashioned? I'm going to muscle it out on double bass.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of techniques, like, because people are doing the kind of the double hit, like anyway, it's impressive technique where you hit the heel first and then it reflects, and then you hit you hit it with the toe. So it's like bam, you get 2 hits out of 1 stroke anyway. And so you do it with both feet at once. It's just like anyway. No, I don't do that. But I do, heel up and basically just let the ankles fly. And when I'm doing like skank beats and hard fast thrash beats, yeah, I am pounding the foot down so much that like my knee hurts after the show. But for fast doubles and for blast, yeah, I just let the ankles fly, heel up and let it ride,
Is that considered old school?
Well, yeah, but I've been doing it for as long as I know, so
it's old school.
And it's pretty old, so yeah.
I mean, this is sort of in the same vein. Do you practice with ankle weights?
No, I never did anything like that. I remember hearing Gene Hoglan practice with ankle weights, and I could just play, and I didn't need to weight train my legs for that. It just flew. I could play in time. I could play good, and this is before triggering, so you had to play hard, and
Right.
I could.
Yeah.
Once you stick a mic in there, you could be heard. At practice, it's a little different with no PA. I could hear it. Because, and I could feel it also, but yeah, I mean, in the old days, you definitely had to hit hard, and you had to, like I say, it's before triggering, and so you definitely had to stomp the hell out of that thing. We were destroying pedals too. I remember originally there were the Ludwig Speed Kings, and that thing did not hold. That thing didn't have a chance. So then I think DW came up with the chain drive, the first one that they had, and that to provide a lot more stability and a little more speed, but you would grind the shit out of the sprocket, and then it would start. You get some leeway in it.
Yeah, I guess I was going to ask that. Has the equipment gotten better through the years, or has it?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I remember the biggest improvement that I loved was when the drum rack came along. I was like, this thing is amazing. I just loved it immediately, because wanting to have a lot of cymbals and a lot of toms, it's like all those stand legs all around, and 2 bass drums. It's like you can't fit all them legs around, and there's no way. Yeah. So the rack was amazing. I love the rack.
Interesting.
And also, just the durability of the hardware itself. It's bigger and chunkier. It can take a beating. Like I said, you can't beat on them 70s stands. They're like made for jazz.
Yeah.
They give you brushes to play with.
Yeah.
When that hardware is not made for a beating like one of these modern guys are going to put on it. So yeah, when the hardware beefed up, that was great. The seats beefed up because it was on like a pole. You would sit in the thing and you would sink down into the fucking chair. It's like, is someone going to make something that works here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the gear has come a long way, especially in drums and hardware. What's that?
I said, Joel, as a drummer, you relate to that?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, and the rack. I mean, the rack was just forget it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was massive. But I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned your knees, and I still play, not as much as I used to, but now and then I'll play. And I talk to a lot of guys who've been doing metal for 30 plus years, and especially the style of drumming that you do. And we all know guys who backstage have problems with their shoulders or icing themselves down, whatever it may be. How have you been able to maintain just the physicality of what you do as the years have gone on and as you've gotten older? Whether it be some of the challenges or some of the techniques that you have, so it makes it consistently easier for you as the years have moved forward.
Yeah, well, like I said, my technique, I've been playing that this whole time. So I got that down, like muscle memory and just what muscles need to be toned up to do it. And like I said, I built up the endurance in those muscles. So it's like, that's not a problem doing long beats or whatever, long stretches of double bass or whatever, not a problem. Endurance wise, like having the good cardio, vascular workout and lung health and a healthy heart to be able to do all of that, and play those long shows with those intense beats and all that. And used to have, like you said, shoulder pain. Like I got my neck hurts once in a while, and I used to have a lot of body pain, but I used to work out a lot with weights, working out, and just because of too many injuries, I stopped doing that. And after a while, a lot of your body aches go away if you're not punishing it with fucking 200 pounds you're trying to throw around. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of those physical ailments don't bother me so much anymore. Like I said, I have this tendinosis thing where I can easily blow a tendon here or there, but only if I'm lifting heavy, stupid weight, like if like at the gym or something. Which, like I said, I don't do anymore. So I'm not really in danger, and I'm not feeling any body aches really. Like I said, I throw my neck out once in a while, but that's just from years of, a couple of car wrecks and just being old and whatnot. I'm not a big thrasher, like I'm not a big headbanger when I play or anything like that.
Yeah. Do you warm up? Do you warm up a lot before you play?
You know what? Actually, I really don't warm up. I used to, but I just noticed that, man, save it for the show.
Yeah, yeah. Let the first 4 songs be the warm up, right?
Yeah, kind of. That's how I go. Because I know our songs. I can play our stuff, and so. Yeah. And I definitely grab my sticks and I rat-a-tat-tat for 5 or 10 minutes, but I don't have a kit and I don't go on I don't have a regimen. And like I said, I used to, but I just realized this is just so tedious and I'm really just burning myself out.
Yeah, yeah.
By the time I get out to the gig, it's like, man, my arms are already toast. What was the point of that?
Yeah, right.
So like I said, man, save it for the show. Yeah. And but I just don't go out unprepared. I definitely like to get my rest, but I'll do some stretching and get the blood flowing. But I definitely don't overdo it with warm ups or anything like that.
Makes sense. Zero the Hero John says it was February of 1998 at the Cuban Club in Ybor City at your headlining gig with friends at Acheron that I won Glenn Benton's bass guitar at a door raffle. The entire band signed it. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. I remember that. That was, I think he raffled it off. It was a charity gig, Medal for the Military or something like that.
Right on.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I remember he's like, the fucking bridge is fucked up on this thing. Just fucking give it away.
Oh, was it a bass that he used, or was it like one of those?
Yeah.
It was legit like that. All right.
Yeah, it was one of his basses. I think he played it that night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's no joke, man. He gave it right up. We don't care.
Yeah. This is a good question here. Pat Baldwin asks, was there ever pressure from labels or A&R to compromise for a wider mainstream audience?
No, God, no. No one we ever dealt with was ever expected anything like that. They just were happy with what we did and just were more than happy to sign us up. Like I said, every time we were at the end of a deal, there was another label waiting to sign us up. And every time we were at the end of a relationship with an agent, there was one ready to step in, So we just keep on trucking.
That's great. Fangzine asks, did Deicide ever cross paths with Danzig, the 2 most well-known Glens in the metal world?
Yeah, actually. We met Glenn a couple of times out in L.A. He came out to a gig. I think we were on the road with Immortal or Marduk at the time. He came out to that show because he liked all the stuff, and he was friendly, introduced himself, told us about the comic book people, tried to hook us up with them. And then I think one time rolling through Pittsburgh, he was on tour and we were on tour. We were crossing Pittsburgh at the same time. And he said, let's combine the shows. He brought our show into his show.
Wow.
So you didn't have to do that, right? Isn't that amazing?
That's cool.
Yeah, and the band all came back to meet us. It was very nice. And so, yeah, he's super cool.
Yeah. Spiky, who's a drummer, asks, has he always been a Paiste cymbal guy?
I have been. I've been with them for a long time, and certainly everyone loves Zildjian. They have great cymbals and great sounds. And like I said, so does Pasty. A lot of great drummers I love use Pasty, Lombardo, and God, there's many others. And like I said, they've been very good to me over the years, and I still love them. I remember they were giving me great for years. They gave me just free cymbals, but they were the alphas. They were like meant for metal. Like you could pound them, and it took a while to break them. And then as the cost of things went up over the years, around 2005 or whatever. It's like, well, we got to start charging you. So, but they still give me a great deal, and I'm still with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
What does Steve think of Richard Christie's drumming with Death and Iced Earth?
Yeah, Rich is incredible. Yeah, he's a super cool guy, and obviously the stuff on Death is incredible. It's right up there with the best of his technical players that Chuck ever brought into the band, And of course, he's a pisser up there on the Stern Show, and yeah, Iced Earth, that was something, right, with John and all that shit.
Yeah.
What a nut.
Anyway, kind of went sideways.
Rich is a great guy. Rich is awesome.
Yeah. Yep. As we head down the home stretch, any interesting encounters with the Norwegian bands?
Yeah, like I said, all that stuff up there with the bombing, and we came out to meet a lot of them. I remember they're like, we were with Gorefest. We hate you because you're political. But Deicide, we love you guys. They gave us like demos, and they gave us these Drep the Christian shirts, which means kill the Christian. It's kind of where I think Glenn got the Kill the Christian song title. Anyway, the Norwegian guys have always been great. We still tour with them and see them often. Yeah, we just played with Sabbath last year. It's all good fun.
Good.
Yeah.
I think Juan Alejandro is referring to this upcoming tour. He says, what album will be played in Bogota on October 5th?
Oh, man, I don't know if we're going to do a full album in its entirety, but we got a ton of great songs we're going to lay on you, that's for sure.
Yeah. So he's referring to this run that's coming up with
and Bogota. Yeah. Like I say, we play there every year almost for the past 10 or 15 years. We do great down there. They love us down there, so we love.
Yo, what's up? Deicide in Bogota. That's pretty great.
It's incredible. We love it down there. Like I said, they keep having us back, and I couldn't be happier about it.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Joe, you got anything else?
Well, just a comment, and I mentioned this a couple of times on the show before Ozzy died, but I think it's more relevant now in that the way I see it, the development of what we call extreme metal, there are three major steps. The first one being obviously Sabbath and that first record in 1970. Then I would say the next big wave was Venom, and that whole thing. And I'd really got to say, the third chapter in that, in my opinion, was those first two Deicide records. So,
wow.
You like I said, earlier in the show about being a young kid with my friends, being introduced to your sound at that time, it left an impact. I think the band's place in metal history is really solidified. And you guys had a major impact, and you continue to have a major impact. So I'm thrilled to see this box set come out. For those who don't know the band's history, obviously it's a great place to start. You made some landmark records that, for my generation, that first Deicide record, in a lot of ways, that's our Paranoid, truly. So thank you for that.
Oh, Joel, I appreciate it very much, brother. Those very kind words. And I just couldn't be happier about how everyone keeps digging on the stuff, and the box set's coming out. We're still out there able to play, and so I'm really looking forward to this year, next year. We've got all kinds of stuff lined up. Yeah, man, just thank you very much. You put us in with great company there, so I appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate your music, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
that's right. when I talked to Joel, he said, "Why don't you come and co-host the show with me? You love this band. You know their stuff so well." So, Joel, thank you for being a part of the show today.
Oh man,
as
my
well.
pleasure. My
Yeah.
pleasure.
I like when you co-host. I can relax a little bit and enjoy it. So.
Well, I appreciate it from both of you guys very much, man. Thanks for having me on, making it a great show. Great interviewing, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for the baseball card thing. It's amazing.
Is there anybody you want to thank? Anybody you want to shout out, Steve?
Yeah, just shout out to all the guys in the band. And, like I said, we're getting ready to start rehearsing again here soon. And just, hey, everybody out there. Glad to still be doing this. I'll see everyone out there. Hope everyone's doing good. Stay healthy. And, thank you to everyone for just digging on the band all this time and keeping it going. Thanks to Dan and Eric from Cherry Red, the box set. Everyone over there doing that. It means a lot. Appreciate it from everyone. Thank you.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon, Steve. Thanks.
Thanks again, fellas. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Right on.
Well done, Joe. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on this one. Really, this was an honor.
Yeah, I really enjoy when you're on, and especially with a guest like this, because I know you have an inherent love for this music, and you steered me in the right direction as far as the catalog goes and everything, and I really enjoyed doing a deep dive into the catalog. They have some great stuff. They made some great records, and Steve is the architect of a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in terms of musicality, a lot of death metal gets overlooked. Yeah. But, the stuff that Deicide's done, he mentioned the later Death albums with, Richard, and even before Richard came into the band. I mean, we're talking about just exceptional musicianship and real groundbreaking stuff that hadn't been done before. So I meant every word I said to him about, his impact on metal and just the evolution of the genre. I mean, again, I cannot overstate how massive those first two records were for their time.
No, and you steered me to them, and I read, getting into the history of those two records, they were groundbreaking. So
yeah,
totally. Very cool stuff. And of course, we're talking now about why don't you announce who we just landed on the show, who you're co-hosting for? When you're co-hosting next show?
Yeah, keeping on the metal tip, I was watching Drew's interview with Mantis from Venom, and I said, I should reach out to my buddy John Gallagher from Raven, see if John wants to come on the show. So he's all into it. So that's going to be September 28th. Is that right, Drew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Wait, let me double check. But yeah, we're getting that together now. John Gallagher from Raven, Sunday, September 28th. That's right. So
yeah. So all the metal guys in the house. That's going to be a great one. He's
all the old school metal guys.
Yeah. And he's from Newcastle. He's been doing it since '75 in that band. They're still at it. He's got crazy history with the early days of Metallica, stuff like that. And he's just a really nice guy. And I think he's going to be a great guest. And, I kind of like bringing the metal guys on now and then. I like that you're doing that because I'm a big metal guy as much as I am a hardcore and punk guy. So.
It's funny. Somebody today, it's like somebody was like, because the show gets posted on a lot of pages, and someone's like, Deicide's New York hardcore. And like, I get this stuff, every now and then. And I'm like, my response was, really? 387 shows into it? Like, it's like, are you paying attention? If you're not, then what can I tell you, bro? It's it's all interconnected in one way or another. If we're not just New York hardcore. That's all. That's it. I mean, and truth be told, I tell you what. Truth be told, when I started listening to Deicide, the early Deicide stuff, it reminded me very much of Marauder. and when I was managing Marauder. And do you saw? Yeah, they influenced a lot of stuff that came later. You know,
Yeah.
I love it when people, that's not there, that. Come on.
Look, I mean, the Cro-Mags were playing shows with Venom back in the day. I mean, it was
Right.
all the same thing.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
if it's underground music, it's underground music. It's the same
Yep.
culture, just
Yeah.
a different version of it. That's it.
Yeah. It can't be Vinny Stigma all the time, kids.
Well, I mean, what's it going to be? You know, the guy who swept the floor at A7. You know, I mean,
Right.
and look, you know, hey, first time I saw Agnostic Front, they were on tour with Obituary. Okay,
Right.
so this intersection's been going on for at least 35 years that I'm aware of.
Right.
You know,
On tomorrow's show, the guy from around the block that did coke with Dave from the A7 on the bar. So there you go. All right. Well, cool. I'll talk to you in a bit, and we'll get together the Raven show, and
Yeah.
you know, try to come down. You know, we got some big shows coming up at the Bowery. Lots coming up. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna definitely make that 24/7 Spy show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've never seen
good.
those guys, and I've been listening to them since the first record. So
That's going to be a good one.
yeah,
So
cool.
All right, cool. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Drew. Take care, everybody.
There you have it. Another one in the bag. Thank you. You know, some great questions today. Some great comments. I really felt like some of you were really paying attention and were really excited about having this guest on. So thank you. Thanks for being a part of the show today. He was a great guest. And I really enjoyed it. And I know I say that a lot, but when there's a guest like this and I have the opportunity to really delve into something that's not really in my wheelhouse, I enjoy it. Because look, I could do Vinny Stigma and you know, I could do all that all day long. You could wake me up in the middle of the night and we could do this show and I could do, you know, Craig Satari, Vinny Stigma, you know, all day long. But something like this, and I enjoyed some of those records. I really did, you know. So, thank you, RS70, in memory of Ozzy Osbourne, 222. Good one, you know. And listen, once again, if you're on Instagram, follow Fangzine on Instagram. Great Misfits stuff. So check them out. One of my favorite Misfits pages on Instagram. So, you know, 1/3 evil. Yes. Yeah. Fangzine rules, man. And you rule too. You got to reach out. You got to reach out to, well, Steve's hard to reach out to. You know what I didn't ask him? You know what I didn't ask him, and I regret it, is how do you exist not having any social media footprint at all? What's that like? You know, what's that like? I can't imagine. I mean, social media is so tied in with the show and what I do and the band. Ugh, it's like a blessing and a curse. Hey, Tim, good to see you. The metal mix-up is totally awesome. Good stuff is good stuff. No boundaries. Thank you, Tim, and thank you for supporting the show, man, as long as you have. Great patron right there. So that said. But once again, let's get something to eat. There's no show Wednesday. On Sunday, we will be down at the Bowery Electric for Crazy Eddie's last show. And a couple days after that, we'll have Demi on the show from Astoria, Queens. So lots coming up. Thank you, everything. What can I say? Hey, Larry Kelly, how's things in Salem, Larry? In the kids' store. That said, that's a good question too, Juan. One of the questions I couldn't answer was what genre Deicide falls under. That would have been a good question for him, because I know they don't like being called death metal. they don't feel like that's really. That's right. Crazy Eddie's last show. Everybody come out and support. So once again, thanks everybody. This was the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Often imitated, never duplicated. We'll see you soon. Until next time, do good things and good things will come to you.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control.